And we've got Mayuresh Joshi getting us some perspective on this in terms of what kind of consolidation we are seeing in the entertainment space, especially when you talk about the sports business and what this really means for Zee Entertainment. Mayuresh from Angel Broking, good afternoon and thanks for making time for speaking to us, Mayuresh. Tell us what you're making of Zee Entertainment now offloading its sports business, and this obviously creates two very strong entities within the sports entertainment spectrum. There is Star, of course, on one side, and there is Sony now. Sony's got IPL and World Cup rights are with Star. So a lot is going to change within that scenario. But first, if you can address what this really means for Zee Entertainment.
No, again, I think this was in the news for some length of time. And what this really means is that the sports business for that part of FY16 did do losses of around 35 odd crores, though they had turned a bit positive in Q1 to the tune of 17.1 crores, which had aided the overall margins along with decline in programming costs and this continuation of some shows, which probably led to some amount of savings in content. But largely, again, I think if you see the EPS estimates, I think the sports business was a drag on the business on an overall scale. And the core business is expected to do well going forward as well. So the management is very, very confident of posting ad revenue growth of more than 15-16%. The regional channels are doing well, with huge opportunity in phase 3, specifically on the digitalization part, of around 36 million odd customers, which can get added overall to the industry as a whole. I think that's a huge opportunity even on the subscription business. So yes, I think if they've loaded this off at around 2,600 odd crores, I think more in line with market expectations. But again, I think it removes a huge drag that the company was carrying on the consolidated basis, and the core business expected to do well. So again, I think the stock will react positively to this news.
Good afternoon, Mayuresh. But in terms of our India's concern, sports channels usually are a major, an important part of the channel of bouquets that these counters hold. So offloading a sports channel, a sports business, do you think can act as a negative as well?
Again, one really needs to look at the proportion that the sports business contributes to the overall business of Zee. And again, I think the contribution in terms of both top line and bottom line was not as significant as their core business and the regional channel setup that they had. So I think this gives them more focus and more management bandwidth to focus on their core businesses. Secondly, I think with the kind of content costs that is probably going programming for these sports businesses, well, I think you need a concentrated management bandwidth on that front. So I think Sony might probably get that in. And again, I think that creates a huge amount of impetus for them with getting this from Zee. So again, I think my own sense is that Zee's management can focus more on their core business. And again, I think sports business was making losses, though I think it just turned a bit positive in Q1. But largely, I think it was a drag. So I think it's a positive signal, at least from Zee's perspective.
Right. I want to also understand, Mayuresh, if you think there is going to be an upgrade in kind of earnings going ahead from here for Zee Entertainment, and how this addresses their debt situation as well. What is it currently looking like? 2,600 crore rupees coming in through this kind of sale. How can it really help that scenario as well?
So largely, as I said, I think this is going to be EPS accretive, though I think we'll need to work on the numbers in what proportion the earnings per share will probably increase. But largely, I think if you go by a rough estimate of 15-16 ad revenue growth, 17-18% subscription growth, EBITDA margins probably staying at 27.5%, 28.5% kind of a range, expectations of the sports business probably betting EBITDA margins along with decline in programming hours and a discontinuation of costs leading to content cost management. I think that will have anyway a positive impact in terms of the numbers. So I think our own estimates were somewhere close to 15-16 odd rupees for FY18. Now one really needs to do the calculation on what can probably come in and what kind of an EPS number can probably increase on the upside. But again, I think the core business looks very, very promising for Zee.
All right, Mayuresh, that's where we are leaving it. Thanks very much for joining us with your perspective on this breaking news item. We're seeing Zee Entertainment offload its sports business now, and we're seeing the stock, though it has kind of cooled off a little bit, 1.5% up in trade, even as we speak, at 536 rupees a share. That's the story on Zee Entertainment, now selling off its sports business to Sony Pictures, and 2,600 crore rupees, $385 million is the consideration they are getting for it. All right, now turning our attention, Jim Rogers, CEO at Roger Holdings, is